This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza. Production services by Sidekick Media Services. And listeners like you, supporting us at patreon.com/awesomecast. It's time to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the social medias and the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, PA. I am not in a hotel room this week. We were live, of course, from Ann Arbor last week. And you probably could hear the difference because we were on all kinds of microphones and didn't have all the fun stuff to fix up the feed and all that kind of stuff like we usually do. But we are back with it this week. We will be on the road next week. I think, where am I going to be next week? Oh, I'll be back in Michigan, of course. And we're probably going to be doing that other version, of course. I know Katie will be on the road with us. Anyways, but we do have with us on the line, we got a very special episode here. First of all, we have on the line from the Pod Cave.
Yes, it's
Dave Podnar.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like your old 80s sitcom in a very special episode.
A very special episode. Yes, exactly. This is the after school special edition of the AwesomeCast. We're kind of the after school special. I know, no, that's probably a little later. My shows are, my He-Mans and my Transformers are probably on at 5 o'clock. Anyways, Katie, Katie is not with us this week, but she is. She's been very busy, so I want to give a shout outs to. She did this event with 412 Thrive, was called Strut on the Streets for a Cure. So I just want to give some shout outs to them. Go follow over on the Instagram. Look at Katie all dolled up in the white wedding dresses and everything. Look at all that with her friends over there. So really cool event. I know I've been seeing the pictures over the weekend of this and over the Coughlin's Law up in Mount Washington. Good shout out to them, and always some really cool stuff going on with 412 Thrive with that event up there. She had to speak for the event, and I gave a late good luck because I didn't know what time of the day it was. And she was like, I rambled for a bit, and I was like, well, you're one of the best ramblers, so I think we're okay. So there's that. So shout out them, shout out 412 Thrive and Katie out there doing some good work, and I think she's out on one of those events of some sort today as well. So and before we get out on the road for some more SAE travels. But Dave, you have a guest with us today, a very special guest. Could you introduce your friend to the AwesomeCast universe?
Yes, most definitely. I met Greg back in the Tiny Shutter days when that podcast was going on. And when that was decided to retire, Greg picked up the mantle and started his own podcast. That was an interview podcast. And like I said, when Tiny Shutter decided to, the people running Tiny Shutter decided to retire the show, he kind of picked up the, if not in name, in spirit of iPhoneography. So iPhoneography podcast was started, and Greg asked me to join to kind of bring the old Tiny Shutter idea back. And recently we added someone new, Dwight, so we all have our individual things, but yeah, Greg is the driving force behind the iPhoneography podcast. And all the way up from Canada, eh?
Oh, I didn't realize I was international today.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's really good to be here.
Excellent. So, of course, this is perfect because WWDC is going down. We had a lot of announcements here on Monday and even more coming through because I know there was a state of the, what do they call it? The state of not the state of the system, the state of the
platform.
State of the platform. Thank you. I know I've been catching up with my usual places that hear, depends on what, catching up what's going on there. And I watch a little bit of the keynote itself and everything like that. So, but I understand. So, I want to talk a lot about this, of course, in the second half of the show. But right off the top, to give us a taste, let's get some awesome things of the week. And what is your awesome thing about the announcements or your experience so far with this?
Yeah, me or Dave?
You first.
Okay. Well, I think one thing that stands out is the fact that all the rumors and leaks and everything else were so accurate. They were dead on. And you'll have to forgive me. My dog likes to barge in on me sometimes. Just ask Dave all about that. I'll try to keep her at bay here. But I think the other thing is really the redesign, the iOS redesign with the liquid glass and all that stuff. I think it's been long overdue, and it's really nice. It's nice and fluid. It works well. And for the day one of the beta, which was yesterday, and I put it on my 15 Pro Max, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm not encouraging anybody to update, put a beta on their phone, but it's really nice. It's a shame that I can't, do some of the things and share how it looks with other people because nobody else is on it that I know of yet. Well, I guess there are a few guys I know that are on it, but I haven't contacted them through it yet. But no, it's got a really nice design. The last time Apple updated the look of iOS was when iOS 7 came out. And I don't know, that was like 11 years ago or whatever it was. I don't know, it was quite a while ago. And the thing about this update is that it's very familiar in how it looks and works in a lot of ways. So I think it's going to be a nice, easy transition for a lot of people.
Absolutely, there's a lot of transparencies in there, and I know a lot of the discussion that I've heard is like a lot of those transparencies are going to be not much heavy lifting because how much power is on the silicone that's in a lot of these devices these days that we have in our pocket. So
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's compatible back to, I want to say the 10S, but I'm not 100% sure. 11 for sure, I think.
The 11. The 11, yeah.
Is it the 11, Dave?
Okay. The 11 going forward, yeah.
Okay.
But considering they're going to come out with the 17.
Yeah,
6 years back for an operating system is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and there'll be some things that may not work on the 11 as opposed to say the 16 and 17 and whatnot, but I mean that's pretty good for back compatibility.
So you're saying I should dust off the old iPhone Pro Max 13 and see how this looks, perhaps on my old phone.
If it's just sitting there.
Yeah,
Canadian. That's by Tim Hortons.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
if it's just a phone that's sitting there not doing anything, why not? You have nothing to lose.
I kind of just have it as a backup, and it's a good camera, a good extra camera. I mean, that's why I buy the ones that I do, right? So as I tell Dave a lot on this show, like I pair them with my 4K cameras a lot of times for secondary shooters on interviews when we're doing a lot of our running guns, and I've been amazed at how well they do. If you see a lot of the SAE interviews that we put out for like Baja and Formula, and like you see the student interviews, that's what it is. It's like nice big camera, little iPhone that I paid a lot of money for. So
I'm using my 16 Pro Max as my camera right now.
There you go, and probably looks better than most of us. I have a Canon Vixia G20, so great studio camera for what it is, and great sensor for low end. But anyways, but no, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm definitely encouraged, and I just was looking at my 13. It's in my bag. I'd bring it with trips on me as a backup in case anything happens to my primary phone. I might be plugging that in between shows here and starting the process and see what happens. So,
well, the developer beta is available now. It's the public beta is not available till next month. So
that's right.
There's that.
We'll have to jump on that then. So I can't remember if I have a developer. I can't remember if I have a developer account or not. I feel like I did for a minute. So I might have to renew.
Well,
that.
It doesn't cost anything anymore. So.
Oh really? Oh, that's even.
I believe
better.
so. Yeah.
That's even better. Let's. We're gonna play this week, guys. That's awesome. So, Dave, what's your awesome thing from WWDC then?
Well, to kind of jump on having a developer account, if you do have a developer account, you can watch a lot of the WWDC events. The more highly technical keynote, not the keynotes, but the individual parts that you can watch and interact with live, like a webinar. Like there's one 9 o'clock tonight on Tuesday and I think you can watch them after the fact. That's all about the camera and video in iOS 26. and they'll have Apple engineers on stage and developers watching it and asking questions, which it's really neat. And they've been doing this for a while, but you can get this behind the scenes developer look.
Mhm.
They even have some on their YouTube channel. In fact, one where they have it broken down by playlists, and ones that's talking about video and audio. Unfortunately, nothing about cameras, not about still photos, but more about the video right now they have up there.
Okay.
And they even have one where they can show, well, you're a developer and you want to make a multi-camera switching app. Here is how it would look. Here's how you do it. And here's the code you would use. And we give you a link to the actual code that you can actually just throw in your program
Mhm.
so you can develop this and put out an app that will use that. And then they show a live thing. And that one particular, they have like a miniature train. And they say, okay, we have 4 cameras set up. But you can see we have the 4 cameras feeding in here, how you can switch between the different cameras and how all of them are synced up automatically. And you don't have to do this as a developer. We give you the framework, and here's how to handle it that way.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And they also have things like, well, here's a video and here's how you can upscale it. So you can upscale your video and make it clear. And we give you all these resources so you don't have to develop this all on your own. And that to me is kind of neat to see what's available, kind of pulling behind, getting behind the scenes a little bit and seeing, and like I said, they'll throw the code right up there.
Mhm.
So admittedly, I wouldn't be able to really read the code. I have not done serious coding in decades, but it's still interesting to see what's available and what can be done.
And that's something that I'm looking at, because obviously we have some video platforms, and we have the code hooks, but we've never really gotten into like developing app versions and stuff, and it's something I would like to get into. So actually I'm looking at, I went to double check it. It does look like it's still $99 a year for the developer program. So caution that as well. So, and of course, if anybody is out there, even when they get to the public beta here in a month, although they seem rather relatively stable, in that we could tell, but it is not advised for you to install a public beta this early. When it's first, in general, it's always a caution if it's your primary device that you need for, let's say, work or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Just that general caution for those that might be listening out there. So
And that's true with not only your mobile device, but if you have a Mac,
mhm.
an iPad.
Yep.
Because the iPadOS is when iPads first came out, it was basically a scaled up iPhone.
Mhm.
The operating system was the same operating system back then, but then they split it out, and this year they really added things that made it feel more Mac like,
Mhm.
where the windowing is now you start off an app and it's full screen like everything else, and there's a little button on the bottom right where you can just kind of click it and you'll scroll, and you can narrow your screen down. So you actually have windows just like a regular computer
Yep.
that you
Floating
can just
windows. Yep.
yeah, floating windows. You can just resize to whatever you want, not have it where you're stuck just having it split screen. And especially use it, the on the demo for at the keynote, they showed the person with um, the magic keyboard thing that Apple has,
The trackpad.
using with the trackpad. And honestly, it's when she was saying there's a menu bar on top
Mhm.
with the iPad now. So it's a menu bar almost like the Mac. So it's no longer, and there you can put a file folder in the dock
Mhm.
like you can the Mac. So it's further away from just being a larger iPhone.
This really, it does feel like this becomes my option. It was like, oh, I want something later that I can do a lot of my work on. There is Final Cut on there, things like that. I don't know what the
Mhm.
like, can I plug if I plug my project folder in, is it going to open up Final Cut to be able to do some quick edits? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it depends on the complexity or something on that side. That's what I would love to test. But now that you're talking about, these are, what are they, like $1,000 Macs with M processors in it? Like
Yep.
like that. I'd pick this over a MacBook Air any day. So, and typically I'm looking at on average a $2,500 MacBook Pro whenever I do those updates. So this becomes more viable than just my mom needs something to play her games on while she's sitting in front of the TV. Kind of iPad. She just picked up a new one. I think like an A16 chip on there. So I don't know how new that is. I can't recall. But
New-ish. But
yeah, newish. But
the A series chips are so overpowered.
oh yeah, absolutely.
They're good for years, and the M and the latest ones for the iPhones, that's why they're good for 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're ridiculously overpowered.
This is the chip that was used in the iPhone 14 and 15 series. And that would be the 11th generation iPad that she has. So, but that's all she needs.
Okay.
So she does not need an M series Pro. She's not doing her AutoCAD on the iPad yet. Although I keep seeing our friends at Onshape, and they're really cool guys that I see at the SAE events that are doing like CAD drawing in the cloud, which means you can have it on all those devices, which is really impressive. So from what we've been seeing from it. So, but anyways, that aside, so no, I love that. I love that it becomes a viable option, and I would love to get my hands on one and do some testing with workflows to see if it is something that I'm no longer bringing my MacBook with me. I'm just throwing an iPad in there. That would be fantastic. Although I'm the crazy person who's bringing two laptops with me just in case. At this point, I have a Mac and I have a PC. I have a Lenovo that we use for the switching, that I've just taken with me because it's a functional PC, and just in case I need an extra screen, because who knows. And it does come in handy sometimes when you're like, why isn't this working in a tent in the middle of this motor track situation that I'm probably going to run into Sunday. Anyways, so an awesome thing. Now, this is something I haven't gotten to dive into it, but they were talking about this extensively on Office Hours Global today. And we use we don't for this show because we're live the tape. We're we take the audio that we come through. Everybody's coming through Zoom. We're not separating things. We could be through different platforms. Riverside is one of them. We actually use it. What did we just use it? That's what we used last week. Last week was Riverside. Brought everything down, tried to clean it up a little bit, and then bump it out. I don't, because of bandwidth, we didn't do it fully properly between bandwidth and time constraints, and I'm sure you can hear the difference if you listen to last week's episode. But still, it's really handy. That and Zencastr are really handy for me with my clients when it's like, hey, I need to take this video and make this person look as good as possible, and they don't always have great internet, and it gets rid of all that chunkiness that happens. Like, Podnar, you're a little chunky today, for instance, for some reason, but I would get that file that's on your computer the best that your laptop would be plugging out there, right? Or a phone or something like that. So one of the things that's supposed to be coming in as I think part of those kind of, you're talking about the development tools and things like that. One of the things that's coming in there, and they had a lot of app developers on there that deal with video and audio with the Apple devices. And the idea is that when you do a call through an app, and I don't think there was a specific thing that does this, or maybe this was one of the built-in things. But apparently there is something that if you're like using an iPad in a call and you do want to do that double under kind of thing, and again, it's recording on both sides, and then it kind of sucks that up into the internet, and then you get that on your side, and you get the best possible thing. Because if you're on an iPad, you're probably on Wi-Fi. It's probably not 100%. There's going to be drops. There's going to be things that happen. It's an environmental a nightmare when it comes to live streaming things. Trust me, this is what I do for a living. And we take a lot of cautions out of a lot of devices to be able to live stream with reliability. For a lot of projects. And but the idea that like anybody that would have an iPhone, Mac, or iPad device could now do a call-in show relatively like this that we're post-editing and have the best possible quality as a built-in feature is kind of crazy. And the idea that is like, okay, if you send like a good microphone and an iPad to somebody to be on a call-in show, if you have the bandwidth to do equipment for that, that's tremendous. Makes it stupid easy to use. Hypothetically, of course, we'll see what the execution and performance actually looks like. And again, we're talking about devices that have M series processors, that have ridiculously fast processors with a lot of overhead. Like this, this becomes realistic, for these kinds of things. And that's really, really exciting. we do already have Riverside and Zencaster have apps that do this on the phone, but you still have to sign in, get an account, get the app, and we run into problems with that too. So I'm excited for that, for the prospect of what we could possibly get out of that.
And I know when we do the iPhoneography podcast, since we're primarily audio, even though we do go over YouTube, both me, Greg, and Dwight record locally our audio, send it to Greg, and then Greg does the post-processing, cleaning up, and syncing up our voices.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a way to do that where it's, we're not using QuickTime to do a recording, or when I use my Windows machine, I use Windows screen recorder pretty much, or just the audio recorder there. But if there's something built in, that would really help.
Mm-hmm. And just a real quick look at it to see if I can see what this is called. I believe this is referenced in the article where they're talking about studio quality, which is more of a feature. They're attaching this as a feature to your AirPods for this. So I don't know if that's the full double under thing that they were talking about. Camera control makes it easier to capture content, things like that. So
they're also saying that when you do recording, if you use AirPods, just like if you do video, I think I don't know if it's in the 15, definitely in the 16, where you can change the audio type when you're doing video, where you can do like, oh, this is the video, this is the audio for studio, this is the audio for cinematic.
Yeah.
So if you have AirPods, you can actually record using the quote unquote studio setting. So it'll make it sound a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're doing a lot of magic with those chips on there. So,
and that's limited to the AirPods Pro 2 and the AirPods 4 as well. So it's, it's taken the little faster processors in the AirPods to do that.
Yep. But yeah, those are the biggest things that stuck out for me so far. And we'll get a little more into the stories here. But in the meantime, I do want to give a shout out to our friends that are supporting us on Patreon. And we do have the Patreon feed up for the in-between shows and everything, both on AwesomeCast and Wrestling Mayhem Show Patreons. When we go to commercials and stuff, we still keep going on here. And we appreciate everybody that does support us over there, including our friends at Brian Crawford, Cynthia Klosky, John DeGore, and hey, Dave Podnar also supporting the show. Thank you. You guys support the show too. Thank you so much at patreon.com/awesomecast. Now, real quick, there was a lot of news. It was also a big news week for video games. A lot of announcements. Riz has been sending me games all week that he's excited for on Xbox Game Pass and things like that, which I'm excited for because I can't wait to get done with travel season. And I'm going to sit in through July and play some video games and catch up. So my Game Pass. So let's see what Chachi's got on this week's Video Game Minute.
Hey kids, welcome back to the Chachi Says Video Game Minute. Here's as much video game news that I can cover under a minute. Gaming is continuing to spread. The Entertainment Software Association has released their yearly gaming stats, and gaming is still on the rise. All age groups saw an increase in the last year, from the 83% of Gen Alphas to the shocking 36% of 80 to 90-year-olds, a 6% increase in that age group from last year, making it 60% of all adults that now game regularly. PlayStation held their State of Play event this week, and among the things announced were a new arcade fighting stick controller, a new Marvel Capcom fighting game that is a 4v4, and a shocking new James Bond 007 game, which appears to be more of an origin action adventure from IO Interactive. And lastly, the band Imagine Dragons has decided to get into the game development arena. Brothers Mac and Dan Reynolds launched Night Street Games in 2020 and now have announced that they're releasing a pure Capture the Flag game, 5v Capture the Flag, with unique classes for each of the characters. Last Flag is planned for 2026 on Steam and Epic Games Store, and is also being developed for consoles later down the road. Thanks for watching this week's Chachi Says Video Game Minute. We'll see you next time.
We are back. Thanks, Chach, for the updates. So Imagine Dragons is doing a video game company, at least a couple of guys from there. That's not the headline I expected from that one. So, hey, you know what? If the guy from Smashing Pumpkins can own a wrestling company, why not, right? So there's that. So let's get into some more WWDC action here. Of course. Well, first of all, Craig, is there anything else about the beta that kind of sticks out to you so far that you're allowed to talk about here?
Um, Gosh, let me think. There's so much. Oh, well, okay. There's a new feature that's camera related that okay, you know the 3D images you can get in Facebook. Like if you make a photo on Facebook, you make it 3D,
Yeah.
and you can move it around. They do this thing called spatial scene. It's called, and as far as I could tell, it works on any photo that you've taken. Like I've gone back to pictures from like last year, and it works. Like it just works on a photo that you've taken. So when you open the photo to view it in Photos, there's a little button just up above the photo to the right, and you tap on it, and it expands out, and it says spatial scene. Then this cool funky looking overlay comes over, like waves over it, and next thing you know, it's right there. It turns it into like a 3D effect. And when Dave and Dwight and I were talking about this last night on the podcast, I think about the only use case we could find for this, other than it being kind of cool, is to use it as a wallpaper, like you saw on the screen there. Other than that, I just don't see. Excuse me, I don't see what the use case would be for this thing. But it is pretty cool. So I mean, that kind of stood out.
It seems like there's always been a little bit of a movement thing to like the background of the iPhone for several generations.
Yeah, they've always had this
right?
parallax effect.
Yeah, like it seems like kind of an extension of that, and they're just kind of generating. I don't know if is AI involved with kind of making up the rest of the scenes, because I know it would do that pop out thing on Facebook, and sometimes it couldn't. Like that background kind of sticks to it, and it gets kind of weird sometimes. Like I wonder how successful that will be on this.
This one is very good. I believe it uses something like a generative fill type of technology, because when the example I looked at last night was a fern I took a picture of, and then in behind it, when you moved it and shifted it, the leaves of the fern would move, and you could see the stuff in behind it actually come out, and it'll only go so far, and then it becomes a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
But if you move it just a little bit, it looks really good. It looks very realistic.
Yeah, that's not a simple image, I would imagine, too. Like there's a lot of texture to that, right? So
yeah, it was crazy.
So obviously you mentioned images, and obviously there's a lot of image integration and upgrades and things that we've been kind of developing here over the last several months here with the Apple Intelligence and all that kind of stuff. They did talk a lot about some AI features, so let's talk about a little bit of like, is there anything? And of course, I don't know if I'm dismayed because of how Apple Intelligence rolled out and how it didn't really deliver on the promises. So going into this one, I was a lot less excited to hear what was going to happen, because I feel like my trust has been a little bit shaken with Apple with their delivery on features they talk about at this juncture. So, but they did talk about a lot of prospective things they want to do with Apple Intelligence and those kinds of things. So, what does stick out for you guys so far? Dave, you first. That in the AI. However you want to, that stands for you.
Well, let me, I think last year Apple was a bit panicking with AI because it was like, people are going, okay, what are you guys doing with AI? And people are like, what are we doing with AI? Apple is not a quick moving company. Apple is there's something interesting. We're going to spend a few years to research it and hopefully come out with something eventually. And sometimes they don't. Like, Apple rumored for a decade to come out with a physical TV, or rumored to come out with a automobile. Both of the things died, never was announced publicly, but it was heavily rumored. Well, yeah, air power. Yeah, that's another issue. Yeah, some accountants say, we have this 3-in-1 charger, it's going to come out. No, it didn't. But it's basically, I think sometimes they got ahead of themselves last year, and this year they were like, okay, we're not going to promise anything we cannot definitely deliver. So that's why there really wasn't a lot of new stuff. One thing, and Greg did something because he was able to test out with Image Playground's been really kind of underwhelming, to be honest, with their built-in image creation. It's not bad, you're not getting horrible, but it's not up to what ChatGPT or what Google can do or what Microsoft can do. And it's now you can use now ChatGPT inside of Image Playground, so it's an option. And I know Greg created one based on a photo that he did of himself, and the chat version, the chat, the generative AI version of the photo looked like Greg. I mean, it did not look cartoonish. Where now, if you say, "Here's my picture," make an image of me, it looks really cartoonish.
Yeah, it was very photorealistic.
Very photorealistic. And I believe you asked it to take. What was the prompt you used?
I just I put the image in of me, and then it just generated the image, and then I thought, okay, let's take this one step further, taking a photo with a phone, and then it put a phone in my hand, and it just happened to be an iPhone, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's awesome.
But also with the phone in your hand had the correct number of fingers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We know that's been a shortcoming of generative AI. You're like, show me something, and all of a sudden someone's got 2 fingers fused together or an extra thumb or something. It's gotten better recently, but it's one of the tells of that's AI. There's an AI. There's 1 or 2 things that could happen, and it honestly, if you look at it, you're like, oh, that's a photo.
Yeah, we play with the Image Playground, and I would put things in there like I was I do kind of a morning greeting for some of my friends to kind of motivate them, and I try to put images like Riz likes capybaras, or we have this thing about capybaras, so I was like, give me a capybara holding a camera, and I ended up giving him one, and he's like, why is he holding a speed gun? And I was like, no, that's not what I was going for here, but I see where you're going with this, or we were like, Chachi is the king of tacos, and it would put a taco on his head for some reason, right? Like, it was so peculiar and things like that. The thing I've been impressed with, actually, I noticed this over the last several days. I know better, but typically I want to just ask Siri a question. Like, I think we went and saw the new John Wick spinoff, The Ballerina, the other night, and we're trying to figure out, like, okay, where does this fit again in the continuity, because it's before the last one where John Wick dies, air quotes there if you're on audio. And we asked it 2 questions. The first question actually said, this is from ChatGPT, also verify this for facts. It added a little disclaimer at the end of it, and this is through CarPlay. Before, like, you just get to this, I'm like, I can't tell you that on the car. You're gonna have to unlock your iPhone or something, right? And then I asked another question, and then I went to Wikipedia. So, like, it's kind of like, it's interesting that it's kind of shifting gears in mid-flow here. Again, 2 back-to-back questions about this. And it's I think one was, does he die at the end of, spoilers, does he die at the end of chapter 4, and where does the movie take place in between which movies? So I thought it was really interesting how that does feel like it's getting smarter and is using that kind of thing. So real quick here before we move on, I want to give introduce, because somebody just came in early for the next show. Our good friend, pro wrestler Zeke Mercer, is with us.
What's up,
wait, where's he at? There he is.
Right
there they
here.
are.
Baby!
What's up, guys?
Oh, you're so overexposed. I got to fix that.
That's okay. At least you can see me. It's all right.
So, and you're an iPhone user. I don't know if you're updated on what's going on with the updates.
I missed the I guess the keynote thing. I like catching up. A lot of things that's been going on.
Well, you can hang out if you got anything to chime in here. Let us know. We're talking about.
I mean, as much as I'm impressed with some of the improvements of AI, I'm still like hesitant to use AI.
Oh yeah. Use it with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah, but I'm like an average user. I'm a person who's willing to switch phones from like Android to Apple. So it's like the only reason I have Apple now is because it's just convenient for the media I push out through my wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, because Apple has preference in the app stores and app applications, so it keeps your quality and frame rate the same.
Yeah.
Versus an Android. Even though Androids have better camera quality and more customization.
I was impressed. We were on a shoot this past weekend. I asked Scotty that was on the show last week, and Swemba. I was like, hey, give me some. I know you had an Android phone. I never expect much out of an Android phone, and I think he's got a Pixel.
Yeah, he
sent me some video.
Dude.
I was like, it looked like it was from his DSLR. I don't know if he's got a filter on it or something.
No, the Google Pixel is a great camera.
It is
My boyfriend
great.
has one. It's an awesome,
it is great.
Awesome camera.
Yeah.
Well, I understand why we pay for like I said, right now, like the only thing sells for me for iPhone is the fact that it's the cloud features. Like I can have multiple devices shared on the one account. And I can just like move media where I need to.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, the AI thing doesn't really try to sell me. I feel like Samsung's always trying to like improve the phone and the capabilities of the phone, and like Apple's just trying to give us features.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I feel like, and you guys can chime in here because these are, of course, our iPhone experts here from iPhoneography with us, Zeke. But it does feel like, it felt like a lot of the uses that they came up with, like AI or ChatGPT will interact and do this, and this. It felt like it was a very practical use in most cases that they presented from what I caught from the keynote. Do you guys have that kind of vibe too?
Well, they introduced a new framework that's going to attempt to do, from what I understand, it's going to attempt to do what they promised last year by, knowing your calendar and knowing your contacts and all this stuff, and I believe it's going to do it through cloud compute or something. So I think that's what they're working on, and they did say in the coming year, right, over the coming year, they're going to slowly try to roll some of this stuff out. But I've been using Google Gemini on my iPhone for a while now. It doesn't do any of that stuff, with your calendar and all that stuff, obviously. But I've just been using it to kind of compare it to ChatGPT to see if there's any difference. Is it better? Is it worse? I mean, it still asks you for confirmation, or not just to double check the facts, if you will. That little disclaimer. But the Apple Intelligence stuff that they say they have now, all it is like spell check and rewrite your emails and all this stuff. Like that to me, I don't know if I would even call that Apple Intelligence. I think I would call that Grammarly with an Apple name on it type of thing.
And that's not to cut you
I don't
off.
know. Like, Dave, did you kind of pick up anything that?
Yeah, like I said, I think last year was something that's historically very non-Apple, as in overpromise and underdeliver.
Oh yeah.
Apple tends to say, oh, here's something here, and then you realize, oh, you can do so much more later on. Like when they came out with NFC, where Android was saying, Google and Samsung, oh, we have an NFC chip. And no one really used it for anything per month. It didn't really spread, but Apple then eventually came out and said, oh, we have something called Apple Pay. They never used the term NFC, but it was an NFC chip.
Yeah.
It was, oh, here's the practical. And last year with AI, they were spitting out AI stuff left and right, and it wasn't ready. And I think they thought, oh, it shouldn't be that hard. It literally, it sounded like management speak. Well, it can't be that hard to do it. How long does it take to build a SQL database from scratch? I'll write down 3 weeks. That should all it should take, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then they start doing it like, oh no. You don't. No. This might take longer than it does to make a fake F1 track on top of Apple Park.
Yeah.
With Craig Federini driving around it like they did in the opening yesterday.
Oh my god, I missed that part. I saw the stuff about that F1 and I skipped all of it.
It's goofy. It's goofy.
I was like, I've already seen the trailer,
stupid, but
I'm good. I'm going to see it. Whatever. I want to see it in Dolby, where it's going to just be sonically amazing. So Zeke, you're about to say something, I think.
No, like ironically, that's what I was going to bring up. Like when I was going to bring up the iPhone 16, wherever S number letter combination they came out with last year. And my friend Carly got that phone. And she was like, yeah, the pink one. So like, oh, she's showing like, oh, it's cool design, cool camera. I'm like, okay, cool. Kind of same type of zoom. And we'll bring up the AI features. Like, I was like, all right, can it do any of that yet? Let's see it. I was like, well, it doesn't work right now.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean that you pay all this money, right? Like, You put all this money down, whatever, traded your phone, went through the process, went to your, provider. You already know it's a headache to do.
Yeah.
Right? So she did do all that, and it's like all these features that they said they're going to come up with this phone.
And these are commercials. This wasn't
Right,
just
like
something in a
commercials, like-
keynote. This is like they
Yeah.
were running commercials on like
Yeah, I
NFL
wasn't just like
games.
watching like TikTok and
Yeah.
watching like these like
No.
people with their these like things like these ads I'm seeing like on YouTube, on TV, like
Yeah.
just randomly
Yeah.
everywhere.
which have since been pulled.
Right. And I'm just I was just like I just hope, I think the whole yearly release, no matter what product it is hurting every industry, whether it's a video game or
Yeah.
phone or whatever gaming console. Like they don't have time to innovate. It's like almost like copy and paste. Like
It's,
build on what you have before, but if everything's kind of optimal right now,
Yeah,
what can you do?
It's more iteration than evolution. Yeah, and that's what they really doubled down on. I think they're feeling the pressure with everything happening with every other platform, right? So but I think it's come around pretty good. I think the promise seems more realistic at this point. The idea of connecting it more readily with other LRMs, potentially, there's talk about potentially like your LRM is on the phone and processed locally. Could be really interesting.
The other thing I think, kind of jumping off of that, one thing Apple was pushing was, now they're saying, okay, we're going to allow developers to go into the on-device large language model at no cost. Where if you want to use ChatGPT, if you want to use Gemini, if you want to use anything else, you're paying every time you go out there and ask a question for that. If you have a program, you're like, oh, I'm going to use ChatGPT integration, but I have to pay ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But if you're using Apple's, you're like, oh, I don't have to make a cost.
Plus, it's on device, so you don't have to do calls out. But the other question is
it good enough?
Yeah, is it good enough?
They're going to have to show it's good enough. Yeah.
And there's going to be, and if you're letting developers at it, you're going to find out sooner or later. Like developers are going to tell you, like, yeah, no, we can't use this, or no, this does a job, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So, I think that those hooks are very interesting, and like the potential to pull them in or select your what you want to use or things like that. What did I say? Xcode has ChatGPT built in now for coding.
Yeah.
And I think you can switch that out to something about, they weren't really clear on how that works, but that you should be able to switch that out eventually. And they do say generally you can use other services. They said that from the beginning. Just ChatGPT was the first one that was integrated, I think, and the only first choice they did, maybe. So
it's the only one they have an agreement with.
Yeah. So
and this whole promise that they made, that they shoot themselves in the foot because their biggest nemesis is their own desire for security. Android phones work so well because they know everything about you. iPhones, they don't know squat about you really when you get down to it. They just the privacy is getting in the way of success. Mind you, I appreciate the privacy. I do. That's part of the reason why I'm using Apple products. But they just fall behind big time.
Yeah. How do you get around that, right? So, but Dave, you had a couple of articles here. I want to make sure we touch on that. There's some specifics about some of the new stuff here. Let's talk about the call screening situation.
Yeah, now this is something that Android has had for a little bit, and I am very happy because recently I did something. I was to say nothing big, but something that triggered a deluge of spam calls.
Oh no!
And texts.
Oh no!
And it's gotten better, but when I first did the thing, is like, the person I was on phone with, oh yeah, since you started this process, you're going to get, and right around that time was the first call coming in.
I was like, you said you didn't even leave the office before you started getting spam calls on this situation.
No, I wasn't even off the phone. We did it over the phone, but we were in the middle of doing it, and we call after call after call after call. Now, eventually, I had to go into settings and say, any call from anyone not in my in my phone book,
Mhm.
in my contacts, just send to the voicemail automatically.
Yeah.
Don't ring.
Yeah.
Well, with call screening, it's similar to what what Google has, but it even says, it's still not up to what it was. Or if you're old enough to remember when people had answering machines at home, and you could and it would start playing, "Hi, this is Dave. I'm at home. I'm not at home right now, but if you leave a message, I'll get back to you." And the person would start to leave a message. You can pick up when you would hear them starting to leave a message. But the difference here is the phone will answer for you. And I imagine it's going to be a Siri voice saying, the person you're trying to call is not available. Please let me know your name and your reason for calling, and I will see if they're available, or something on that nature. So that'll happen. Your phone won't ring. When that person says that, then your phone will ring with a little note saying, "Hi, I'm so and so, and I'm calling regarding something," whatever they're going to say. And if you look at it and go, "Oh, that's spam," or "I don't have to do anything," you can let it go to voicemail.
Mhm.
Or if it's someone who's interested, you can just start picking it up and talk to them at that point.
Yeah, I'm
So
interested in that
that
to
will
a
be a
point.
big help.
I'm interested in that to a point because we have a Google Voice number for the business, and I had a client, and we had about a 4-day notice on doing a project a couple weeks ago, and we were using the voicemail, and he kept calling back for details as they were being discovered throughout the day, and had to go through that leaving your name thing. And of course, it's not integrated like this too, right? Like I get the call and it says you're receiving a call from blah, and it's like I already know because I see on the caller ID, right? Because it comes through. For that process. So I like that idea, but I just feel like I'm still just going to get multiple calls of these screen calls where they're saying I'm from so and so. But I guess a lot would just hang up at a certain point, wouldn't they?
That's the thing. That's the difference. Is that now let's say it's someone who you do work with. It is a contact. That won't happen. It will just ring directly to you.
Yeah.
So that won't be a problem. And one thing I notice is a lot of the people, I didn't get a lot of voicemails. So I think the minute I didn't pick up, it went to voicemail, they just hung up.
I have 138 unlistened to voicemails on my phone because I know they're all crap. I know they're all complete crap, and I'm not even interested in entertaining them. Listen, you'll find a better way to contact me. So that's just where I'm at right now with my phone situation. Just useless to me. Absolutely useless to me.
I'm keen to try this feature because I get periodically, well, it seems more often than not, I get calls come in and, I just hit decline and it goes to voicemail, and then I play the voicemail back and there's nothing there. Just these random phone numbers. And if I track the number, it could be from the US, it could be from Canada, they could be from
doesn't
anywhere.
matter. They're all spoofing anyways, right? Yeah. Don't you guys actually enforce your phone privacy laws up there, unlike us down here? Shouldn't it be easier
we have
for
a
you?
do not call list.
Yeah.
That I'm on.
Yes.
But it doesn't work.
That's presuming they abide by that, right? So yeah. And I said they're spoofing numbers. They could be from anywhere. It's like one of those where it looks like it's calling from your number, or your neighbor's number.
I think I had one from Honduras one time.
I had a lot of.
It's ridiculous.
I had a lot of I believe they were Chinese voicemails for a bit.
Yeah,
You've been getting that, yeah. Like it was like for a while,
just random.
Yes, and it was just like what.
I love when Apple tries to transcribe the voicemail within different language.
Yes,
that's the funny part.
That is one that they're actually supposed to do now. So
that will be getting.
That is part of it.
Cool. That is a promise of getting better, because one thing they said is they will make it where if you do a FaceTime call with somebody and they're speaking in another language, they will translate and give you closed captioning in your language right after they talk.
We'll see how
if
good
that works, like it's we'll see how it actually works.
Yeah.
But that is very promising, and I would love for that to work, because occasionally, maybe twice a year, we call Ruth's dad's brother in Hungary. So his kids speak a little bit of English. Ruth's dad speaks Hungarian, but he's been over in this country since 1958. So his Hungarian, and they're there's no one around to talk Hungarian to, unlike the old days where there used to be a ton of people who spoke Hungarian. So his Hungarian's very rusty. But if we could have, and Skype had this at one time. Skype had this translation, and then they killed Skype off. But if they could get it to work, and they even said they're going to do it for Apple Music. So if you listen to, and they even use a K-pop band as an example, and showed the translation of the Korean into English like karaoke.
Listen, I've been starting to listen to baby metal, so I'm kind of into this idea right now. So because I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but
they not only had it in English, but they also had it phonetically in Korean. So you would know how to spell it or how to say it, because with Apple TV and with an iPhone, you'll be able to do karaoke.
Oh, like this. You know, I'm into this idea because I've been watching a lot of TikToks the last day or so, because as some of you know, WWE bought a Mexican promotion, and so they're on their TikTok a lot, and they're translating them. So I'm really fascinated and they're subtitled and everything, so I can figure out what's going on. But I want to know everything this lizard guy's up to. Okay, everything.
We have to know about Mr. Iguana.
Yes, we have to know. You know, I filmed Mr. Iguana. This is a story for later, but I'll probably tell it again there. But I remember the story with the commentator who's, I believe, the ex WWE commentator that I work with, that was like, listen, is he an iguana or does he think he's an iguana? I have to know for this match. So, and
wrestling. That's something else to explain.
That's it. There's a puppet iguana. It's just, seek this out if you're not here for the wrestling. Anyways, Dave, one more. Go ahead.
Everything I had was also about the CarPlay.
Yes,
and that's
go ahead.
something I'm really excited about, because not only is it getting the whole overlook that all the iOS. By the way, we did mention this. They're changing the numbering to everything for the year. So since this is going to be primarily used in 2026, it's iOS 26 CarPlay. It's Mac OS 26, Vision 26, at Watch OS 26. So it's all going to have the same number. Or same number. But the fact that with CarPlay they're going to have live activities and widgets. This is a big deal for me, because those live activities, which if you're looking on the screen on the bottom
is
right
that
there,
Flight Aware in the corner? I'm very excited about that. I'm a big Flight Aware fan.
Yes. So basically, if you, and this will be any app, because remember, CarPlay just mirrors your phone, so it's not a separate thing. If you have widgets available in your iOS devices, in your iOS apps, they'll be able to show the widgets on your CarPlay screen.
So that's my McDonald's order with my code. That's my Starbucks order. That's listen, I use it a lot. So I don't know. Does Tim Hortons have a widget up there?
There could be by now.
I don't know, but you know what else CarPlay does? So I drive a Toyota Tacoma pickup, and the screen is the typical, almost like a 4x3 screen. And if like in anything prior to iOS 26, CarPlay was, everything was generic, the size, everything. The new CarPlay in iOS 26 conforms to the resolution and size of your screen. So my CarPlay, the first time I put it on, it adapted to the screen size, and now my icons are it's not these massive 8 buttons on the screen. They're smaller. You can give them the glass look that you can on the phone. You can make them dark, you can make them light. It's very nice. It's very cool. And I haven't even tried to work with widgets yet, but that's probably on tomorrow's list.
Well, give me an update on that Tim Hortons widget. All right. So I'm with you. I have a Ford Maverick. It's got a pretty standard screen, and I realized like it doesn't even have the way we gotta get the Tim Hortons view in there. There you go. Hey, please sponsor us, buds. I've been spending a lot of time in Michigan, so I'm practically in Canada.
There you
go. But anyways, what was I getting at? Oh yeah. So like I noticed like I don't even have the battery like icon on it. It's so small, right? But it's functional. I'm happy with it. That I have it. It's better than the secondary market one that I had in my 2012 Ford Escape that worked kind of half the time kind of situation. But either way. No, isn't there like a CarPlay Ultra? I thought I saw in the presentation.
Ultra, you're right. Now that's a limited amount of cars.
Yeah, absolutely. They have
one car right now.
One car.
Yeah.
Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's the Aston Martin. That's the only one available. It's going to start trickling down, but basically that replaces everything in your car. So so basically, when you look at your gauges, that'll be running on CarPlay.
As long as your dash has the capability to, display different types of things like that, right?
Right.
Your main display in front of you, as well as the, display off to the side in the middle type of thing.
Which there's a lot of car companies don't want to give that up.
No,
because they don't want to give up the data.
General Motors specifically, I think, is pulling CarPlay out of their newer cars.
Yeah.
So
this year,
now, granted,
you cannot get it at all.
A couple years ago, they brought it was a Suburban or something high end that had like all the like they were taking the students out at AutoDrive, and it's doing the full fully automatic lane change and everything, right? So it was like insanely high end, and it did have the display in there is beautiful. Okay. Now, the layout in my Ford Maverick is god awful. In comparison, right? Like if I don't have CarPlay up, it just looks like absolute trash. So there, of course, that's not a high end vehicle by any means. It's kind of a lower end truck, I guess. Starter truck, whatever you want to call it.
It's a nice truck.
It is a nice truck. It is
kind
of.
But it doesn't.
You don't have to
as much as someone's house.
Yeah, you don't have to truck
like a Suburban did.
You have to truck support me on this one. So, although I do need it whenever the payment comes in every month. But yeah, no. So I had a lot of rental cars, and like it's really the gamut of where we're at with this. Hey, the Denali was really nice, So, but I'm going to be really upset when I can't plug in my phone. I didn't even like how the Tesla did it. Like how you're plugged in, you got your radio features and stuff, but you can't even use your own GPS. You have whatever built into it and stuff like that. That is, I don't like the choice being taken away from me. In those kinds of cases, but. That's okay. I'll have a Ford for the next 10 years anyways. So either way, well, we're getting the pumpkin time here. Greg, tell us again, iPhoneography podcast. I know we mention it like every week. But
yeah, and I appreciate that.
give me the big pitch. Give me the pitch that Podnar won't give us.
It's the only iPhone photography podcast in existence on the planet. How's that?
There you go.
So the website is iPhoneography.ca because I'm Canadian, but that just takes you to the Facebook page, not the group, but the Facebook page for the podcast. So that's where I put the show notes up after the episodes come out. I generally wait till they come out on audio before I put them up there, but the Facebook group itself is pretty good too. There's a lot of nice stuff coming out on there, and it's just the iPhoneography podcast group, I think it is on Facebook.
Excellent. I know we end up talking about a lot of things that you guys talk about on the show in retrospect. I know Dave brings it up a lot of times. Say, hey, last night we talked about so and so, and I do appreciate the perspective you guys bring to the show, even though it's been secondhand up until now for you. So thank you so much for joining us, and don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you back on. If there's any Big Apple announcements or anything, if you're free, please hop in, and you're more than welcome to join us for this.
I appreciate you having me on, and anytime I get a podcast with Dave is a good time.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. And we didn't even get a cat interruption here yet.
I seen it on there.
Oh yeah. It's off camera.
She jumped across on the keyboard.
Okay.
Greg was talking. So,
okay.
She was not on screen.
One of these days, I'll finally set up a Zoom ISO so I can catch all that kind of stuff. But anyways, Dave Podnar, of course, big contributor here. You're in half the clips that we put out on social media, of course. So thank you, Dave Podnar, for joining us. Prof Pod on all the social media. Prof Pod on most of the social medias.
Prof Pod everywhere else but TikTok, and that's Prof Pod PGH.
It's Dave Podnar.
Zeke Mercer will be joining us on the Wrestling Mayhem show later.
I will.
Zeke Mercer is Zeke Mercer across the internets.
Across the many internets and many states.
There you go. You see, not well liked in the South Side.
I'm loved.
You're loved.
I'm beloved.
Is that what that language is for?
Oh,
is that
yes.
the language of love?
Oh yes.
Is
that's how Yinzer should have loved.
Like that's the word we don't say on this show. So, anyways, we're gonna have fun with you on the Wrestling Mayhem show later. But thank you for joining us. I know we talk tech and media and stuff all the time here off camera, so it was good for you to drop in and join us for that. At Sorgatron on all the social medias. I will be in Maryland. I'm going to be some places in Maryland. I don't know what Mechanicsville, I guess, is what I'm closest to. We're doing the Baja SAE Maryland. Have not been there since 2018. Just did the podcast, the Know Before You Go podcast for Beyond the Competition over on SAE's YouTube and podcast feeds. And the organizer joined us sitting on the back of a Kabuto on the track. So that was a first for us. So I was really excited about that. And I will say, if you get on that feed, we got a really good conversation with a guy from Relativity Space coming out. I believe it's going to drop next Thursday, if not the week after. I think we had some shifting because of all the schedule this week with all the live streams and things. But that'll be coming in the next week or so. And of course, see somebody that was with the Formula SAE program is returning to it, and I know we talk about that a lot, but really cool. Like we made some rocket scientist jokes on there, so if you like that brand of humor, you can join us over there for that. And also just dropped a video with UCLA's Formula Electric team over on that channel too. That just dropped this morning, actually, as of this recording. So go check that out. Good conversation there, and we did not talk about. We talked with the daughter of a very famous musician, actually, that was a part of the team that we did not put on the feed, but maybe there'll be some outtakes on TikTok later. Anyways, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you. We will be back again. We will be live from I believe Michigan hotel room via. Riverside once again next week, so we'll have some fun with that. Of course, Katie will be on the trip with me, so I'm sure we'll discover something in Michigan to talk about, and we'll see you guys next time. Until then, you've been our awesome audience, and all with your awesome cats. There you go. Have an awesome week. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.
I'm Eamon.
I'm Merlin.
And we're a gay.
And his NB.
Are you a reality television connoisseur?
Do you like it discussed from an LGBTQ lens?
If so, A Gay and His NB is the podcast for you.
Hear us break down all your favorite guilty pleasure reality shows from Bravo, Drag Race, and just about everything in between.
Listen to A Gay and His NB on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.